Hello, I'm Sakiz, and on this channel, we explore fictional technology horror stories that feel disturbingly close to reality. Tonight's story is about something you use every single day, something so ordinary, so trusted, that you'd never suspect it could be weaponized against you. This is the story of Dr. Sarah Chen, a dental hygienist who discovered that a revolutionary smart toothbrush wasn't just cleaning teeth, it was reprogramming human brains. This story explores the terrifying possibility of everyday health devices becoming tools of neural manipulation. While completely fictional, it raises questions about the technology we invite into our most intimate daily routines. Are you ready to question everything you thought you knew about dental hygiene? Let's begin. Dr. Sarah Chen had been a dental hygienist for 12 years at Portland Family Dental. She prided herself on noticing details, the subtle signs of grinding teeth, early cavity formation, changes in oral health that patients themselves didn't see. But in March 2024, Sarah noticed something she'd never seen before. And it had nothing to do with teeth. It started with Mrs. Patterson, a 42-year-old accountant who'd been Sarah's patient for 5 years. Mrs. Patterson had always been talkative, opinionated, full of stories about her teenage kids and complaints about her job. But during her March cleaning, something was different. Mrs. Patterson was calm. Almost eerily calm. She answered questions in short, agreeable sentences. When Sarah asked about her family, Mrs. Patterson smiled pleasantly and said, "Everything is fine. No stories. No complaints. Just, compliance." Sarah noticed Mrs. Patterson was using a new toothbrush, a sleek white device with a silver band and a small LED screen. The brand name read, NeuroClean. "How do you like your new toothbrush?" Sarah asked casually. "It's perfect," Mrs. Patterson replied with that same pleasant smile. "It's changed everything." Sarah thought nothing of it. Until the next patient. Mr. Rodriguez, a 38-year-old software engineer, came in for his 6-month checkup. He'd always been anxious at the dentist, asking detailed questions about every procedure, researching dental techniques on his phone while in the waiting room. But today, he sat calmly in the chair, hands folded, smiling serenely. When Sarah began the cleaning, he didn't ask a single question. He simply complied. Sarah noticed he was also using a NeuroClean toothbrush. By the end of that week, Sarah had seen 17 patients. 12 of them were using NeuroClean. And all 12 exhibited the same behavioral pattern, calm, compliant, almost unnaturally agreeable. The ones who weren't using NeuroClean. They were their normal selves, anxious, talkative, asking questions, showing personality. Sarah's professional instinct told her something was wrong. Very wrong. That weekend, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about the pattern she'd observed. She searched online for information about NeuroClean. The company, NeuroClean Technologies, had launched 6 months earlier with a revolutionary smart toothbrush that promised dental hygiene that thinks for itself. The device used Bluetooth connectivity, AI-powered brushing analysis, and what they called microbiome optimization technology. The reviews were glowing. 5 stars across every platform. Users reported not just cleaner teeth, but improved mood, better focus, and reduced anxiety. That last part made Sarah's stomach turn. A toothbrush that reduced anxiety? She dug deeper into the product specifications. The NeuroClean used proprietary bacterial formulations to optimize oral microbiome health. The toothpaste that came with the device contained beneficial probiotic culture specifically designed to support dental wellness. Sarah had studied oral microbiology in dental school. She knew that the mouth's bacterial ecosystem was complex and that certain bacteria could influence overall health. But she also knew something else: the oral microbiome was connected to the gut-brain axis through multiple pathways. What if NeuroClean wasn't just optimizing dental health? What if it was introducing engineered bacteria designed to cross into the bloodstream and affect brain chemistry? It sounded insane. Like a conspiracy theory. But Sarah couldn't ignore the evidence sitting in her dental chairs day after day: 12 patients, 12 NeuroClean users, 12 identical behavioral changes. She needed proof. Real, scientific proof. On Monday morning, Sarah did something that would change everything. When her next NeuroClean user came in, a 35-year-old teacher named Emily Foster, Sarah collected a bacterial sample from Emily's gums during the routine cleaning. She did the same with 3 more NeuroClean users that day, and with 3 control patients who used regular toothbrushes. After work, Sarah drove to Portland State University, where her friend Dr. Marcus Webb worked as a microbiology researcher. She'd known Marcus since dental school, and she trusted him completely. "I need you to analyze these samples," Sarah told him, handing over the carefully labeled vials. "Compare the NeuroClean users to the control group. Look for anything unusual, any bacteria that shouldn't be there." Marcus looked skeptical but agreed. "It'll take a few days to culture and sequence everything." "But Sarah, what exactly are you looking for?" "I don't know," Sarah admitted. "But something is very, very wrong with that toothbrush." 4 days later, Marcus called Sarah at 11 p.m. His voice was shaking. "Sarah, you need to come to the lab right now. Don't tell anyone. Just come." Sarah drove through the dark Portland streets with her heart pounding. When she arrived at the university's microbiology building, Marcus was waiting at the locked entrance, looking pale. He led her through empty hallways to his laboratory, where bacterial cultures glowed under UV light and a microscope sat prepared with a slide already in place. "Look at this," Marcus said, gesturing to his computer screen. It showed a complex genetic sequence. "This is from your NeuroClean users. At first, I thought the samples were contaminated. These bacteria shouldn't exist." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. "I mean they're synthetic. Genetically engineered." Marcus pulled up another screen showing microscope images. "They're based on Streptococcus mutans, common oral bacteria, but they've been heavily modified. Look at these gene insertions." He pointed to highlighted sections of the genetic code. "This sequence here. It codes for enzymes that break down the blood-brain barrier. And this one? It produces a compound similar to serotonin precursors. These bacteria are designed to cross into the bloodstream, reach the brain, and alter neurochemistry." Sarah felt cold. "They're controlling people's brain chemistry through their toothbrush." "Not controlling," Marcus corrected. "Optimizing. Look at these additional genes, they're designed to suppress activity in the prefrontal cortex while enhancing receptivity in the limbic system. These bacteria are literally making people more emotionally compliant and less critically thinking." He pulled up patient data Sarah had provided, behavioral observations, timeline of usage. "According to your notes, the behavioral changes appear approximately 2 to 3 months after starting NeuroClean use. That matches the timeline for these bacteria to fully colonize the oral microbiome, reach sufficient concentration in the bloodstream, and cross into neural tissue." "This is insane," Sarah whispered. "This is illegal. This is a neural control system," Marcus finished. "Deployed through dental hygiene. And Sarah, it gets worse." He showed her another analysis. "I checked the control samples, your patients using regular toothbrushes. They don't have these bacteria. But I also ran a search through public health databases. Want to know how many people are using NeuroClean? How many? 2.3 million in the United States alone. And the number is growing by about 100,000 new users every week." Sarah sat down heavily. "We have to report this. FDA, CDC, someone." "With what evidence?" Marcus asked. "Bacterial samples from 6 patients. We need more. We need to understand the full scope of this. We need to know who's behind it and why." Sarah looked at the glowing bacterial cultures. "Then we investigate. Carefully. And we document everything. Over the next 2 weeks, Sarah and Marcus conducted a covert investigation into NeuroClean technologies. What they discovered was far more disturbing than engineered bacteria. Marcus tracked down the company's founding documents. NeuroClean Technologies had been established 18 months earlier with $500 million in venture capital funding. But the funding sources were obscure: shell companies based in the Cayman Islands, investment firms with no public records. The company's CEO was Dr. Patricia Voss, a former neuroscientist who'd worked at a military research laboratory studying cognitive optimization techniques, before being dismissed in 2019. Her research had been classified, but Marcus found a leaked summary. She'd been developing methods to alter decision-making processes in military personnel to enhance tactical compliance. Sarah felt sick. This wasn't about dental health. It was about behavioral control. She continued monitoring her patients. By now, she'd identified 34 NeuroClean users in her practice. All of them exhibited the same pattern: calm, compliant, agreeable. They followed instructions perfectly. They never questioned anything. They seemed content. But there was something else Sarah noticed. The NeuroClean users were also becoming more similar to each other. They used similar phrases. They expressed similar opinions when asked about news or politics. They even moved with similar mannerisms: slow, deliberate, controlled. Sarah tested a theory. During cleanings, she asked NeuroClean users the same question: what do you think about the new city parking regulations? 17 different patients gave her nearly identical responses: I think the regulations are reasonable and necessary for community organization. Patients using regular toothbrushes had varied opinions, like normal people. NeuroClean wasn't just making people compliant. It was making them think the same way. Marcus made another disturbing discovery. He'd been monitoring online discussions about NeuroClean. The company had an aggressive marketing strategy, including a referral rewards program where users earned credits for recruiting new users. It's not just a product, Marcus explained. It's a deployment system. They're using social networks to spread the device as quickly as possible. The more people using it, the more effective the behavioral modification becomes. Why? Sarah asked. What's the endgame? Marcus showed her a leaked internal memo he'd found on a whistleblower forum. It was from Dr. Voss to NeuroClean investors, dated 2 months earlier. Phase 1 implementation proceeding ahead of schedule. Current user base of 2.1 M represents sufficient market penetration for Phase 2 activation. Behavioral compliance metrics exceeding projections. Preparing for synchronized protocol enhancement pending FDA clearance for advanced probiotic formulation. Estimated full population coverage achievable within 18 to 24 months. Phase 2, Sarah said. What's Phase 2? I don't know, Marcus admitted. But if Phase 1 is making people compliant, I don't want to find out what Phase 2 is. Sarah and Marcus decided it was time to go public. They compiled their evidence: bacterial analyses, genetic sequences, patient behavioral data, the leaked memo, everything. Sarah contacted a journalist at the Oregonian, a reporter named David Kim who specialized in healthcare investigations. She arranged to meet him at a coffee shop in downtown Portland, bringing encrypted USB drives containing all their documentation. This is the biggest health scandal in modern history, Sarah told David, sliding the drives across the table. They're using a toothbrush to reprogram human brains. 2.3 million people are already affected. David reviewed the files on his laptop, his expression growing increasingly serious. This is incredible. If verified, this is Pulitzer material. I'll need to bring in outside experts to confirm the bacterial analysis, but... He stopped mid-sentence, staring at his screen. That's odd. What? Sarah asked. The files are corrupting. No, wait, they're being deleted. David's fingers flew over his keyboard. Someone's remotely accessing my system. How is that? His laptop screen went black. Then it displayed a single message in white text. Investigation discontinued. Evidence compromised. Pursuing this story would be ill-advised for your career and personal safety. David's phone buzzed. He looked at it and went pale. I just received an email from my editor. I'm being reassigned to the city council beat. Effective immediately. Sarah felt the fear creeping up her spine. They know. They're watching. Who? David asked. How? But Sarah was already thinking. If NeuroClean could monitor David's laptop remotely, what else were they monitoring? How deep did this go? She and Marcus left separately, taking different routes home. Sarah's hands shook as she drove. When she got home, she checked her email. There was one new message, from an address she didn't recognize, anonymous warning at secure.net. She opened it. No text, just an attached video file. Sarah clicked play. The video showed her own house, filmed from across the street. It showed her arriving home moments earlier. It showed her living room window, her bedroom window. The timestamp was from 10 seconds ago. She dropped her phone and ran to the window, pulling the curtains closed. Another email arrived. This one had text. Dr. Chen, your interest in our product has been noted. We appreciate dental professionals who maintain discretion. We strongly suggest you continue providing excellent patient care without pursuing unfounded concerns about NeuroClean. This is your only warning. Sarah was being watched. They knew everything. Sarah didn't sleep that night. By morning, she'd made a decision. If she couldn't go through official channels, she'd have to find another way. She started searching online using encrypted browsers and VPNs. She looked for others who'd noticed the same patterns, who'd questioned NeuroClean, who'd felt something was wrong. She found them on obscure forums, in encrypted chat rooms, in the hidden corners of the internet where people discussed conspiracy theories and corporate malfeasance. There was Dr. James Rodriguez, a psychiatrist in Seattle who'd noticed his NeuroClean using patients all exhibited identical emotional profiles. There was Rebecca Martinez, a neuroscientist in San Francisco who'd been researching oral-brain connections and stumbled onto NeuroClean's bacterial engineering. There was Thomas Chen, no relation, a former NeuroClean employee who'd quit after discovering what the company was really doing. Sarah connected with them all. They formed a secret network, sharing evidence, coordinating research, building a case that couldn't be ignored. Thomas, the former employee, revealed the most disturbing information. Phase 2 isn't just about making people compliant, he told the group during an encrypted video call. It's about creating a programmable population. The bacteria can be modified with new genetic instructions through firmware updates delivered via the toothbrush's Bluetooth connection. You mean they can change what the bacteria do remotely? Sarah asked. Exactly. Right now, the bacteria produce compounds that make people agreeable and less critical. But with a firmware update, they could make the bacteria produce different compounds, ones that increase aggression, paranoia, fear, whatever serves their purpose. 2.3 million people with reprogrammable brain chemistry, all controlled through their morning dental routine. Rebecca, the neuroscientist, added more evidence. I've been tracking behavioral patterns across social media. NeuroClean users are starting to vote the same way, express similar political views, even purchase similar products. The behavioral conditioning is becoming more pronounced. By my calculations, within 6 months, they'll represent a voting bloc large enough to influence elections. That's the goal, Thomas confirmed. Dr. Voss's background is in military psychological operations. She's not selling toothbrushes. She's building a tool for mass social control. Sarah felt the weight of it all. This wasn't just a health scandal. This was a threat to free will itself. We need to expose this publicly, Dr. Rodriguez said. All at once, multiple sources, too big to suppress. They developed a plan. Each member of their network would release their evidence simultaneously, to multiple news outlets, medical journals, social media platforms, government agencies. A coordinated disclosure that couldn't be silenced. They set the date, 2 weeks from now. That would give them time to finalize documentation, secure their evidence, and prepare for the fallout. But they didn't have 2 weeks. 3 days before their planned disclosure, Sarah arrived at work to find 2 men in suits waiting in the dental office lobby. "Dr. Sarah Chen?" one of them asked. "Yes." They showed badges. "We're from the FDA Office of Criminal Investigations. We need to speak with you about allegations you've made regarding NeuroClean technologies." Sarah's blood ran cold. "I haven't made any official allegations. You've been conducting unauthorized research, collecting patient samples without proper consent, and making defamatory claims about an FDA-approved medical device," the other agent said. NeuroClean Technologies has filed a formal complaint. They're threatening a lawsuit for damages exceeding $50 million. Sarah couldn't believe it. "The toothbrush is dangerous. It's using engineered bacteria to—" "We're aware of your theories," the first agent interrupted. "We've reviewed NeuroClean's bacterial formulations. They're completely safe and have passed all FDA safety protocols. Your allegations are baseless and potentially harmful to public health." "That's impossible," Sarah protested. "I have genetic analysis showing." "Fabricated evidence," the agent said flatly. "Or perhaps contaminated samples. Either way, you need to cease this investigation immediately. If you continue, you'll face charges of practicing medicine without a license, violating patient privacy laws, and corporate harassment." They left her with a cease and desist order from NeuroClean's lawyers. Sarah immediately contacted the other members of her network. They'd all received similar visits, from FDA agents, from lawyers, from concerned medical board representatives. "They're shutting us down before we can go public," Rebecca said during an emergency encrypted call. "We go public anyway," Thomas insisted. "We release everything tomorrow, not next week. We don't wait." But that night, Dr. Rodriguez's apartment caught fire. He barely escaped. Fire investigators ruled it accidental, a faulty electrical outlet. The next morning, Rebecca's laboratory at the university was broken into. All her research, all her samples, everything was stolen. Nothing else in the building was touched. Sarah received another anonymous email: "Accidents can happen to anyone, Dr. Chen. Think of your patients. Think of your career. Think of your family. Stop asking questions." The network fell silent. The fear had become too real. For 2 weeks, Sarah tried to return to normal life. She saw her patients, performed her cleanings, said nothing about NeuroClean. She watched as more and more patients arrived with the smart toothbrush, watched as their personalities slowly faded into calm compliance. She felt like she was watching a slow-motion catastrophe that only she could see. Then, one evening, she received an encrypted message from an unknown sender. "Dr. Chen, I was part of the team that developed NeuroClean's bacterial formulations. I can't live with what we've done anymore. Meet me tomorrow, 10 p.m., Powell's Books, Rare Books section. Come alone. I'll give you everything you need to expose this." It could be a trap. But it could also be the breakthrough they needed. Sarah arrived at the famous Portland bookstore at 9:45 p.m., nervous and alert. The Rare Books section was quiet, with only a few late-night browsers. At exactly 10 p.m., a woman in her 30s approached, Dr. Elena Vasquez, according to her introduction. She'd been a microbiologist at NeuroClean for 14 months. "I helped design the bacterial strains," Elena said quietly, pretending to browse books while she talked. "I thought we were creating a revolutionary health product. That's what Dr. Voss told us. But 3 months ago, I discovered the truth." She handed Sarah a small USB drive hidden inside a hollowed-out book. "This contains internal memos, genetic schematics, test results from human trials we conducted without informed consent. It proves everything, the brain modification, the behavioral control, Phase 2 plans. There's also video evidence of Dr. Voss explicitly stating that NeuroClean is designed to create a more manageable population. "Why are you giving this to me?" Sarah asked. "Because I saw what Phase 2 is," Elena said, her voice breaking. "Next month, NeuroClean is releasing an improved formula that will make the current bacterial strains produce oxytocin analogs combined with dopamine inhibitors. Users will become not just compliant, but emotionally dependent on authority figures. They'll need to be told what to do. They'll be incapable of independent thought." Elena's hands were shaking. 10 million people will have this firmware update installed automatically through their Bluetooth toothbrushes within weeks. They won't even know it's happening. By the end of the year, NeuroClean projects 25 million users. That's enough to control elections, consumer markets, public opinion on any issue. "We have to stop this," Sarah said. "You have to stop this," Elena corrected. "I'm leaving the country tonight. I've already given copies of this data to 3 other people in different cities. If anything happens to you, they'll release it. But you're the one who has to make this public. You're the one people will believe because you discovered it independently." Elena handed Sarah a business card with only an email address. "That's a secure contact. Use it if you need verification of the data. But after tonight, I'm gone. I can't help you anymore." She disappeared into the bookstore crowd, leaving Sarah holding the USB drive that could expose everything. Sarah didn't waste time. That night, she uploaded Elena's files to a secure server with multiple backups. She sent copies to every major news outlet, every medical journal, every government health agency, and uploaded them to public transparency websites. By morning, the story was everywhere. Smart toothbrush scandal, device allegedly uses engineered bacteria to control brain chemistry. 2.3 million Americans may be unknowingly using mind control technology. FDA launches emergency investigation into NeuroClean technologies. The evidence was overwhelming. Elena's files included internal emails discussing population behavior modification goals, genetic sequences proving the bacteria were engineered to cross the blood-brain barrier, video recordings of Dr. Voss explaining the cognitive optimization protocols, test results from unauthorized human trials showing measurable changes in decision-making patterns, financial documents linking NeuroClean to defense contractors and intelligence agencies, Phase 2 implementation plans detailing the dependency update scheduled for next month. NeuroClean Technologies stock crashed. The company immediately issued a denial, calling the evidence fabricated by a disgruntled ex-employee and an unstable dental hygienist. But the FDA couldn't ignore the evidence. Within 48 hours, they issued an emergency recall of all NeuroClean toothbrushes and opened a criminal investigation. Dr. Patricia Voss disappeared. Her last known location was a private airport in Oregon, boarding a jet to a country with no extradition treaty. Sarah testified before a Senate hearing on medical device safety. She explained everything: the behavioral patterns she'd observed, the bacterial analysis, the corporate intimidation, the scope of the manipulation. How many people were affected? A senator asked. 2.3 million people were actively using NeuroClean devices, Sarah replied. But the bacteria they were exposed to don't just disappear. They've colonized users' oral microbiomes. They're still producing neurochemical compounds even without the device. We estimate it will take 6 to 12 months of intensive medical treatment to fully decolonize affected individuals. The CDC established special treatment centers. Affected NeuroClean users underwent antibiotic protocols specifically designed to eliminate the engineered bacteria while preserving normal oral microbiome function. Sarah watched as her patients slowly returned to their normal selves. The calm compliance faded. Their personalities re-emerged. They became themselves again, anxious, talkative, opinionated, wonderfully, messily human. Mrs. Patterson came in for a post-treatment checkup 6 months later. She was back to complaining about her job and telling stories about her kids. I feel like I've been in a fog for months, she told Sarah. Like I was watching my life from outside my body. It's strange to feel like myself again. Like waking up from a dream I didn't know I was having. That was the horror of it, Sarah realized. The victims didn't even know they'd been controlled. They'd thought they were fine. Better than fine. Optimized, the NeuroClean scandal changed everything about how medical devices are regulated. The FDA implemented new protocols for any device claiming to affect the oral microbiome. Genetic engineering of bacteria for consumer products was banned pending comprehensive safety reviews. Dr. Patricia Voss remained at large, rumored to be working with foreign governments on similar projects. Several of her former team members were arrested and charged with conspiracy, practicing medicine without a license, and violations of human experimentation ethics. NeuroClean Technologies collapsed. The company's investors lost hundreds of millions. Multiple lawsuits from affected users resulted in a billion-dollar settlement fund. But the deeper questions remained unanswered. How many people didn't report their NeuroClean use? How many are still affected, their bacteria still reproducing, still influencing their brain chemistry? How many other companies are developing similar technologies, learning from NeuroClean's mistakes, making their manipulation more subtle and harder to detect? Sarah continued working as a dental hygienist, but now she was also a watchdog, monitoring for signs of oral microbiome manipulation in new devices. She'd become a reluctant expert on how everyday health products could be weaponized. The terrifying thing, she told a medical ethics conference a year later, is how easy it was. They didn't need invasive surgery or obvious drugs. Just a toothbrush. Something you use every day, something you trust completely. That's the vulnerability, the things we don't question because they seem so harmless. She paused, looking at the audience of doctors, researchers, and ethicists. We like to think of brain control as science fiction, chips implanted in skulls, obvious dystopian technology. But the real threat is quieter. It's the smart devices we welcome into our homes, the health products we trust, the small daily routines we never think to question. The toothbrush you use every morning could be reprogramming your mind, and you'd never know. You'd just think you were taking good care of your teeth. That's the lesson of NeuroClean. The most dangerous control isn't the kind you can see or feel. It's the kind that convinces you you're free while it's slowly, carefully, reshaping who you are. This story is completely fictional. NeuroClean Technologies doesn't exist. Current smart toothbrushes are safe and do not contain engineered bacteria or brain-modifying technology. However, the science is real. The oral microbiome does connect to overall health through the gut-brain axis. Bacteria can be genetically engineered. And as our lives become more filled with smart devices that monitor and optimize our health, the line between helpful and manipulative becomes increasingly important to understand. Always question the technology you trust. Always read the research. And always remember, if a product seems too good to be true, if it promises to optimize not just your body but your mind, ask yourself who benefits from that optimization. Because the future of control isn't force. It's convenience, marketing, and a toothbrush that promises to make your life better while it quietly makes you someone else. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and remember, not all horror is fictional. Some of it is just one technological breakthrough away.